Hello, Buckeye Nation. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, even if you aren't an Ohio State fan. Hey, thanks for clicking on the video. I'll just say this, get out of the way right off the bat. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, anything like that to help support the channel. And let's talk about some Ohio State football, shall we? So the Buckeyes get the win, 45-12, over Arkansas State yesterday. I meant to record this yesterday, but I was just way too encapsulated with the college football world yesterday. It was a crazy day of college football, and it was so much fun. I just couldn't sit away from the TV. And as well, I had to work this morning. So that's why the video wasn't up earlier. So again, I apologize for this being late, I guess. But let's talk some Buckeye football. So they're able to get the win 45-12. Maybe still not in the dominant offensive performance that people would have expected out of Ohio State. But, I mean, we still beat them by 33. I'm going to go ahead and take it. And again, I'd rather we see these errors pop up now rather than in a game against Wisconsin or Michigan State or Penn State later down the line where we could really start to trip things up and maybe even cost us a game. There was no doubt that Ohio State was going to win this game, right? No doubt, even from as far as they played today. So taking a look overall at what Ohio State did yesterday, I thought C.J. Stroud did really well, had a 93.7 QBR, 8 incompletions. Yeah, had some bad throws, and yeah, it looked a little shaky to start, but again, that third quarter, second half, things really started to take off, not only for C.J. Stroud, but for this entire Buckeye offense. Finished with 351 yards and 4 touchdown passes. Solid day for C.J. Stroud. I know a lot of people are saying he's starting to look like he did the beginning of last year. He needs an Oregon wake-up call moment, things like that. But again, I think it's just trying to find chemistry and build relationships with some of these wide receivers that he didn't expect to have to rely on this early in the season. Of course, read the headline. We handled this Arkansas State team, but Smith-Njigba, Julian Fleming still did not play a snap in this game. Of course, both of them dealing with injuries, and I have no problem with them sitting out this game, maybe even the game next against Toledo, rest them up. I would expect that both of them be ready to go and play before the game against Wisconsin, because that's when we're really going to need those two guys back. But overall, I feel like the offense played well. Good day for Travion Henderson on 10 carries, 87 yards, a couple touchdowns. Great day for Marvin Harrison Jr., 184 yards, 3 touchdowns. Emeka Egbuka, again, continues his kind of breakout campaign. Only 4 catches, but 118 yards and a touchdown there as well. So it was a Buckeye offense that probably didn't look as effective as I think a lot of people thought, well, maybe they should look like this season. But I think the offense was fine. And again, the offense will come, right? This is a very good offensive team. Talent-wise, scheme-wise, Kevin Wilson and company know what they're doing, right? The offense is going to come. I've seen things saying that this Ohio State offense is washed out and, oh, you focus so much on defense that now your offense doesn't know what to do. The offense is going to come. The offense is going to find itself, and I think especially once Julian Fleming and Jackson Smith-Njigba get back into this rotation and start catching passes for this Ohio State team, yeah, guys, we're going to end up being just fine, okay? If you're one of the people out there that is freaking out over this offense, don't overreact yet. Again, we have another warm-up game against Toledo next week, and then the Wisconsin game a week after that. The Wisconsin game is where we are going to find out if this offense is as good or better or worse than it was last season. We will find out against Wisconsin. Now, they even lost yesterday to Washington State. So, but again, that's on part of Wisconsin's miscues. And Wisconsin had a lot of miscues yesterday. It's what helped them lose, or it's what led them to lose that game against Washington State. Washington State able to take advantage. Anyway, going off on tangent. Not a Wisconsin channel, it's an Ohio State series, right? Again, don't panic about the offense. It's going to come. Good things are going to come for the offensive side of the ball. I just know it. This Ohio State team is too good. It's too talented scheming-wise. It's too talented, well, talent-wise. Right, the offense is going to come along. Give Ohio State's offense some time. The offense is going to show out in, I think, a pretty big way here within these next coming weeks. I think they're going to score a lot of points against Toledo, And maybe, depending on how good that Wisconsin defense or how much that Wisconsin defense shows up, they could score a lot of points against Wisconsin. Again, once Smith and Jigba and Fleming come back, we're going to have a lot better idea of what this offense really is. So don't freak out about this offense not being as dynamic as it was last year, not being able to score at will like it did last year. That's going to come. Okay, that's going to come. It took a couple games for him to really get into the full offensive groove last year. It's going to be the same thing this year. And again, I'd rather these mistakes happen now against Arkansas State than the mistakes happen against Wisconsin or Iowa or Penn State or Michigan State or Michigan, right? One of those teams that can really hurt Ohio State and make them pay for their mistakes. Arkansas State was not going to do that, albeit give Arkansas State credit. Let's move now to Ohio State's defensive side of the ball, where we start to see some things that kept working well for this team, right? Stopping the run was still a big thing for this Ohio State team. They did excellent at stopping the run. On 34 team carries for Arkansas State, 53 yards. So this Ohio State team is finally doing something that it couldn't do last year, and that was stop the run. Now, Arkansas State does not have a dynamic rushing attack. Notre Dame does not have an elite rushing attack there either, although Notre Dame had a lot better of a rushing attack than Arkansas State did, and we were still able to hold Notre Dame to under 100 yards rushing in that affair as well. However, let's look at the passing side. Arkansas State had a more established passing game than Notre Dame did, right? Notre Dame, besides Michael Mayer, had a lot of questions at wide receiver. Tyler Buckner being a young quarterback, even Drew Pine behind him being a young quarterback. Part of the reason they lost that game to Marshall yesterday was because of miscues and Tyler Buckner being slightly behind on throws and the offense just not clicking for Notre Dame yet. Defensively, I thought Notre Dame looked fine against Marshall. Yes, there are a lot of plays they could have had back, and yes, they struggled to stop Kalen LeBourne yesterday, but Notre Dame is going to find that offensive rhythm eventually too. You would think, right? They're eventually seemingly going to find that offensive rhythm, but I mean, and I'll talk about the Ohio State defense here in a second, but I do want to address, so Ohio State only put up 21 points. Wow, the Marshall put up more points on Notre Dame than Ohio State did. Well, clearly you did not watch closely the Ohio State game or the Marshall game because, frankly, Notre Dame played so much better in that Ohio State game than I think a lot of people, A, are giving them credit for, and B, than they did against Marshall. Notre Dame completely overestimated Marshall, and they did not overestimate Ohio State. Notre Dame, especially defensively, the Notre Dame team that is good defensively played against Ohio State last week. The Notre Dame team that was good defensively did not play this past week against Marshall. And Notre Dame did not make a lot of terrible miscues against Ohio State. Again, there were plays Notre Dame would have liked to have back, but not a lot of things went horribly wrong for Notre Dame in that game against Ohio State. They threw 4 picks against Marshall, and one of them being a pick 6. So if you're someone out there that's going to ridicule this Ohio State team, especially offensively, in putting up 21 points in the first game of the year against a really good defensive unit, don't even waste my time with that nonsense, right? It's the first 2 games of the year. Ohio State's offense is starting to get going. Notre Dame is a good defensive team, and they played well against Ohio State. I did have to address that because I've been seeing, Notre Dame is just terrible, which, okay, Notre Dame may have an 8-4 type year. Again, it's Marcus Freeman's first year with a young quarterback, a lot of young offensive pieces. It's like in Ohio State last year, right? A young quarterback, young offensive pieces, especially a young, inexperienced defense, which Notre Dame has talent on the defense. But you guys get my point, right? This is a young Notre Dame team with a young head coach and his first head coaching job. They are going to figure it out. I have full confidence that Notre Dame will figure things out. But, I mean, they got a lot of tough games left on that schedule. Clemson, BYU, USC, all things like that. But don't even come for me in telling me that Ohio State is nowhere near as good as we thought they were, only because Marshall put up more points than Ohio State did. That is just nonsensical. Especially saying that, when you see that one of those, or 7 of those points even, came off of a pick 6. And a lot of those points were off of turnovers, which Notre Dame just didn't make against Ohio State. So I did want to address that. Let's now talk about this Ohio State defense, as I went off on a little bit of a tangent rant. But again, this Ohio State defense has to start limiting these big plays, right? First play off of scrimmage in that Notre Dame game was a 50-plus yard pass. And okay, that was kind of the limit to what Ohio State allowed explosive-wise from what I can remember in that Notre Dame game. In this game, well, Flemings was really able to have some dynamic plays against Ohio State. He had 10 catches for 105 yards, including a 58-yard catch. So limiting those explosive plays, and by that I mean plays of, well, probably 20 or more yards, but in Jim Knowles' mind, that's probably plays of 15 or more yards, which Arkansas State had quite a few of those the other day. There was a 25-yard catch, an 18-yard catch, 16-yard catch, 15-yard run, of course, the 56-yard pitch and catch there as well. And again, that's going to come with time in this Jim Knowles system, right? Ohio State's going to learn to limit those explosive plays. It's a new defensive scheme with a new defensive coordinator, yet it's the same talent. So with a lot of talent coming back, yeah, you have a lot coming back on the defensive side of the ball. Great, that's good for you, but learning a new scheme and learning new positions and all that is tough. Now, Ohio State, again, that pass rush is really good. The pass rush is really good for this Ohio State team. We got 2 sacks, generated 12 tackles for loss on this Arkansas State front, and we're able to bully their offensive line pretty much all game, right? I'm not worried about pass rushing. I'm not worried about run defense. Pass defense, again, like I said in my review about that Notre Dame game, this secondary still needs work, and I'm going to call out a player here and not dissing this player in any way. He just had a very bad game. Denzel Burke, right? The guy that used to wear this number, 29, now wears number 5, and he just did not have a great day at all. He was getting burned. Passes were going over his head. He had one play where they called pass interference, and at the time I was incensed, but as soon as I watched the replay, I was like, okay, yeah, rightfully so, where he just kind of jumped into a guy with his hands up, like almost trying to pile drive him with his body weight. Like, what are you doing, Denzel Berg? Again, Denzel Burke is a good player. He's starting on Ohio State for a reason, and he was one of our lockdown corners last year. But he did not have a good game today. He just did not have a good game at all. 3 tackles, all of them by himself, 1 tackle for loss, but I think got called on 2 pass interferences, and just Denzel Burke has to be better. He's got to be better than what he showed today. I thought he was solid in that Notre Dame game. He just did not have a great day against Arkansas State this past game. So clean that up, get things sorted out in that secondary, and I think this defense is fine. Now, again, limiting those explosive plays, I think are going to come with time in this Jim Knowles system, right? We're going to learn to limit the explosive plays, but that pass rush looks really good. That rush defense is phenomenal. It could be one of the best in college football this year because we're finally hitting those gaps. We're finally being able to come off blocks and bring pressure into that backfield before the play is really even able to generate. And again, part of the explosive play thing is, yeah, if a team runs a screen pass and we're just late on maybe deflecting a pass down or getting pressure to the quarterback, then they can have a 10 or 15-yard gain out of that one play. And yeah, again, it's going to come with time in the Jim Knowles system, especially with this secondary, right? The secondary is the one part of this defense that still concerns me a little bit. Again, the linebackers are doing their jobs. That was my main concern this year, was the linebackers. The defensive line is playing really well, really well. The secondary, I think a lot of guys are having some good individual efforts. I think this secondary unit has yet to have a full collective, really well played team effort. And that is what I will be looking for in the game against Toledo, in the game against Wisconsin, in the game against Rutgers. Ohio State, more likely than not, is going to be favored in every single game that they play this year. Notre Dame was the big one to start off the year, and I thought that was a great defensive challenge for this offense, right? To see things working, and again, we really had to grind out that game against Notre Dame. there was no way we were even going to be coming close to grinding out this game against Arkansas State. And might I mention about this defense too, the red zone defense was really good. We held Arkansas State to 4 field goals, and every single time they were able to get into our territory, and then we stuffed them. So that is a great sign right there too. Again, Arkansas State, not a great offensive team, but there was experience coming back. James Blackman is an experienced quarterback. A lot of weapons for them were back from last year with Lang and Flemings and Jones. So there were experienced guys coming back for that Arkansas State team. And Butch Jones, look, he is what he is as a head coach. Call him what you want, bad, not great, just average, whatever you want. Butch Jones, not one of the better head coaches in the nation, but he did have experience, right? He did have experience, and they were able to generate some explosive plays against this Ohio State defense, which, again, is something that Ohio State is going to learn to limit, and especially once Jackson Smith-Njigba and Julian Fleming come back for this offense. Don't worry about this offense, guys. This offense is going to be fine. We know what this offense can be. We saw it in the Rose Bowl. This offense is going to be just fine. So that's kind of my thoughts on this season so far. I still think this is the top 3 team in America. Yes, there are things to work on. Yes, there are things we need to get figured out, especially before that game against Wisconsin, because that is still a tricky team to play, right? That's a good defensive team. Their offense and our run defense is really going to be tested in that game there as well, with guys like Braylon Allen, Ches Malusi for Wisconsin can really run the ball. So run defense will be tested in that game. Pass defense, again, Wisconsin and Graham Mertz, he is what he is, but Graham Mertz has looked a lot better this coming season. So it'll be a good test for our defense there as well. It'll be a good test for our offense, as Wisconsin's pretty good defensively. But I'm glad that these sort of little errors are happening now, right? Limiting big plays, we can start manage. So Toledo, that's our goal. Looking at Toledo, I want to limit the big plays. I want this offense, especially if Jackson Smith-Njigba and Julian Fleming are playing, maybe to get a little bit of things going, maybe find some more explosive plays downfield. But again, I think this offense is going to be fine. C.J. Stroud had a good day. And according to QBR rankings, I just checked it out before recording this video, I believe somewhere between the 5th and 7th best single game QBR performance, and he was 16 of 24, what a lot of Ohio State fans are calling an average game. He had a pretty good game, guys. So thank you guys so much for watching, clicking on this video. Hey, I do Ohio State fan reactions after every single game, so if you are an Ohio State fan, hit the subscribe button, like, comment, subscribe. Do anything you can to help support the channel. And remember to play hard but tailgate harder. I'll see all you guys in the next video. Tomorrow will be my top 25. Goodbye.